The Rolex Datejust might just be the epitome of a timeless classic, signaling to the world that you finally made it. But before you swipe that card, there are a few under-the-radar details you really should know. Over here at Opulent Oasis, we're peeling back the curtain to show you what's not always talked about. I mean, this watch is an investment, often the first serious one in a luxury watch that many make, and sometimes it's the only one they'll ever need. But choosing the right one, that's where the real challenge lies. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, now's a great time. Ready to get the inside scoop? Let's get started. Number 1, pick the right Datejust for you. First up, size matters. You're looking at either a 36mm or a 41mm. There's no middle ground here, even if 38.5mm sounds like a nice compromise. So think about what fits your style. 36mm screams classic elegance, perfect for slimmer wrists, while the 41mm shouts a bit louder, great for those who don't mind a bolder statement on their wrist. Now about the materials, steel or two-tone, that choice usually boils down to what catches your eye first. And while we're at it, let's talk straps. You've got the Oyster and the Jubilee. The Oyster's your go-to for a sportier vibe, tough and ready for anything. On the flip side, the Jubilee, born with the Datejust itself, offers a smoother, more sophisticated fit that hugs your wrist like it's meant to be there. Choosing your bezel is next, smooth or fluted. It's all about whether you lean more towards the casual side or if you like to dial up the elegance. It's like deciding if you're more into sneakers or dress shoes. Some folks like to mix it up. An Oyster bracelet with a smooth bezel for a relaxed look, or a Jubilee with a fluted bezel when you're feeling a bit more uptown. Take your time, sift through these options, and find that sweet spot that feels just right on your wrist. Number 2, think about the cash and popularity factor. Apparently, the price tag on these watches can vary quite a bit, and it's not just about the looks. The bigger Datejust 41 naturally costs a bit more due to its size. Material matters too, going for gold or other precious metals. That's going to bump up the price compared to the standard steel. Keeping the original box and papers? That also adds value, kind of like how keeping the box your smartphone came in can help when you resell. Then there's the style of the dial, and take the palm dial for instance. It started as a quirky design, but now it's fetching a premium, proving that sometimes it pays to be a little different. Condition is key, especially in the vintage game. A well-kept, unpolished piece with a dial that's spotless and a bracelet that doesn't show its age can command top dollar. Let's be honest, a Datejust that's been around the block but still looks sharp is kind of like finding a vintage car in mint condition. It's a rare gem. The good news though? Datejusts are pretty fluid in the market. If you ever decide it's not your style or you're ready for an upgrade, passing it on is usually hassle-free. Plus, if you're patient, snagging one at retail price is more doable than you might think, though it could mean waiting a bit to get the exact combo you want. It's like fishing. Sometimes you catch the big one quickly, other times you've got to wait for the right bite. But before we continue into our next big reveal, why not join the Opulent Oasis community by subscribing? Get ahead of the curve with our cutting-edge content. Let's get going. Number 3. Check out the timeline. Kicking off in 1945, big year for Rolex as they rolled out the Datejust to mark their 40th. I mean, it was the first with a self-winding mechanism and a date window flipping right at midnight. They paired it with a solid gold 36mm case and introduced the Jubilee bracelet, which became famous for its comfy, classy look. As the 50s rolled in, Rolex wasn't just sitting back. They expanded their lineup with steel and two-tone models. Think references 5030 and 5031. By 1957, they started branding these beauties with the Datejust name right on the dial. Then came the 1960s and 70s, a real heyday for Datejust evolution. This period introduced us to the iconic 4-digit references: 1600 with its smooth bezel, 1601 sporting a fluted bezel, and the 16603 with an engine-turned bezel. These pieces laid down the tracks for what vintage Datejust collecting looks like today. Jump to the 70s, and here comes the caliber 3035 with its quick-set date feature, solving the pesky problem of manual date tweaking. Fast forward to 1988, and Rolex swapped out the old acrylic crystals for sapphire ones. Talk about an upgrade in scratch resistance, right? As we hit the late 90s and early 2000s, Rolex switched up their glow-in-the-dark game from tritium to luminova, then super luminova. Fast forward to 2009, and bam, Rolex dropped the Datejust 2, a solid choice for anyone into larger watches. Though it was a short run, the big watch lovers got their wish again in 2016 with the launch of the Datejust 41, which is still ticking strong today. So, there you have it, a quick spin through the Datejust's journey. Any of these milestones catch your eye? Number 4. Vintage, neo-vintage or modern Datejusts. Starting with the vintage crew, these are the old-school charmers. Collectors dig them for their classic feel and that sweet patina that only time can brew. But vintage vibes come with their quirks. Always buy from someone legit to avoid headaches. Make sure the gears are ticking right, and set some cash aside for any unexpected fix-ups. Luckily, finding parts for a Datejust isn't a treasure hunt thanks to its popularity. Be sharp about the condition, though. Those tropical dials might look cool, but could mean past water woes. And check those edges. A nice, unpolished case is like finding an original paint job on a vintage car. Now, the modern Datejusts, they're all about today's tech and top-notch reliability. Rolex didn't just sit back. They've been tweaking and refining. While they might not have the vintage poster vibe, they definitely bring their A-game in functionality. And then there's the neo-vintage zone. These are the middle kids often overlooked, which is a bit unfair if you ask us. They straddle the line between the old-timey allure of the vintages and the slickness of the moderns. If you're into hidden gems, this category might just be your goldmine. You could snag a killer watch without breaking the bank, kind of like finding that underrated band before they hit the big time. So whether you're after some retro flair, cutting-edge performance or something in between, there's a Datejust out there waiting to click with your style. Number 5. Scope out some cool alternatives to Datejust. Starting with Cartier, you've got the Tank and Santos to consider. The Santos packs a sportier punch, while the Tank swings towards the more formal side of things. Not feeling the Rolex vibe, but still want a badge of horological excellence? Cartier might just have what you're looking for. Moving on to IWC, their 36mm Pilot is a solid pick, especially if you dig a clear view or have a thing for aviation-themed gear. Then there's the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso. Sure, it's on the dressier side, but it's in the same ballpark as the Datejust when it comes to price, and has a solid pedigree with plenty of options in its lineup. If it's uniqueness and top-notch craftsmanship you're after, Grand Seiko is worth a peek. They're right up there with Rolex when it comes to making a statement of craftsmanship in your daily wear. Don't forget about Rolex's own alternatives, like the Explorer 1 and the Oyster Perpetual. These models keep it 100% Rolex, but with their own twist. Perfect if you love the brand, but want something a bit different, like a no-date dial or a tougher look than the Datejust. And then there's Omega, although they don't have a direct rival to Datejust. But Tudor, Rolex's sibling brand, steps up with the Black Bay line. The Black Bay, with options in 37mm, 39mm, and 41mm, is a touch more wallet-friendly and easy to get your hands on. The newest kid on the block, the 37mm Black Bay 54, throws back to a vintage size and might just tickle that Datejust feel, all while rocking Tudor's robust build. So a friendly advice if you're looking to switch up your style or just want a fresh take on the classic watch look, these options have you covered. Who knows, maybe one of these could end up being the new favorite in your collection. And there you have it. We're eager to know what you think about the Rolex Datejust advice we dished out in this video. Drop your 2 cents in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that follow button and give us a thumbs up if you dig what we're putting out. Oh, and just a heads up, there's more great stuff that is coming here in Opulent Oasis.